Welcome to day 65 of reading every single day for 30 minutes for the rest of my life. Today we got The Fellowship of the Ring. I'm sorry, I'm super tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep at all yesterday night at all. But it's alright. We ball. We keep going. I'm at the top of page 272. I'm gonna set a timer right now, wherever my phone is. Alrighty, 30 minutes starting now. Let's go. I looked then and saw that his robes, which had seemed white, were not so, but were woven of all colors, and if he moved they were not. They shimmered and changed hue so that the eye was bewildered. I liked white better, I said. White, he sneered. It serves as a beginning. White cloth may be dyed, the white page can be overwritten, and the white light can be broken. In which case it is no longer white, said I, and he that breaks a thing, to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. You need not to speak to me as one of your fools that you take for friends, said he. I have not brought you hither to be instructed by you, but to give you a choice. He drew himself up again and began to declaim as if he were making a speech long rehearsed. The elder days are gone, the middle days are passing. The younger days are beginning, the times of the elves is over, but our time is at hand, the world of men, which we must rule. But we must have power to order all the things as we will, for that good which only the wise can see. And listen, Gandalf, my old friend, said Helper, he said, coming near and speaking now in a softer voice. I said we, for we it may be, if you will join me. A new power is rising. Against it the old allies and policies will not avail us at all. There is no hope left in the elves or dying Numenor. This then is one choice before you, before us. We may join with that power. It would be wise, Gandalf. There is hope that way. Its victory is at hand, and there will be rich reward for those that aided it. As the power grows, it proved friends will also grow, and the wise, such as you and I, may with patience come to last to direct its courses, to control it. We can bide our time, we can keep our thoughts in our hearts, deploring maybe evil done by the way, but approving the high and ultimate purpose, knowledge, rule, order, all the things that we have so far striven to vain to accomplish, hindered rather than helped by our weak or idle friends. There would not be any real change in our designs, only in our means. Saruman, I said, I have heard speeches of this kind before, but only in the mouths of emissaries sent from Mordor to deceive the ignorant. I cannot think that you brought me so far only to weary my ears. He looked at me sidelong and paused a while, considering. Well, I see that this is wise course does not command itself to you, he said. Not yet. Not if some better can be contrived. He came and laid his long hand on my arm. And why not, Gandalf, he whispered. Why not, the ruling ring? If we could command that, then the power would pass it to us. That is in truth why I brought you here, for I have many eyes in my service, and I believe that you know where this precious thing lies now. It is not so. Or why does the Nine ask for the Shire, and what is your business there? As he said this, a lust which he could not conceal shone suddenly in his eyes. Saruman, I said, standing away from him. Only one hand at the time can wield the one, and you know that well. So do not trouble to say we. But I will not give it, nay, I will not give even news of it to you, now that I learn your mind. You were head of the council, but you have unmasked yourself at last. Well, the choices are, it seems, to submit to Sauron or to yourself. I will take neither. Have you others to offer? He was cold, now perilous. Yes, he said. I did not expect you to show wisdom even in your own behalf, but I gave you the chance of aiding me willingly. And so, saving yourself much trouble and pain, the third choice is to stay here, until the end. Until what end? Until you reveal to me where the one may be found. I may find means to persuade you, or until it is found in your despite, and the ruler has time to turn to lighter matters, to devise, say, a fitting reward for the adherence of insolence of Gandalf the Grey. That may not prove to be one of the lighter matters, said I. He laughed at me, for my words were empty, and he knew it. They took me, and they set me alone in the pinnacle of Orthanc, in the place where Sauron was accustomed to watch the stars. There is no descent save by a narrow stair of many thousand steps, and the valley below seems far away. I looked on it and saw that, whereas it had been green and fair, it was now filled with the pits and forges. Wolves and orcs were housed in Isengard, for Saruman was mustering a great force of his own account, in rivalry of Sauron, and not in his service yet. Over all his works a dark smoke hung and wrapped itself about the sides of Orthanc. I stood alone in an island in the clouds, and had no chance of escape, and my days were bitter. I was pierced with cold, and I had little but room in which to place to and fro, brooding on the coming of the riders of the north. That the Nine had indeed arisen, I felt assured, a part of the words of Saruman which might be lies. Long ere I came to Isengard, I had heard tidings by the way that could not be mistaken. Fear was ever in my heart and my friends in the Shire, but still I had some hope. I hoped that Frodo had set forth at once, as my letter had urged, and that he had reached Rivendell before the deadly pursuit began. And both my fear and my hope proved ill-founded, for my hope was founded on a fat man and Bree, and my fear was founded on the cunning of Sauron. But fat men who sell ale have many calls to answer. The power of Sauron is still less than fear makes it, but in the circle of Isengard, trapped and alone, it was not easy to think that the hunters before who have fled or fallen would falter in the Shire far away. I saw you, cried Frodo. You were walking backwards and forwards. The moon shone in your hair. Gandalf paused, astonished, and looked at him. It was only a dream, said Frodo, but it suddenly came back to me. I had quite forgotten it. It came some time ago, after I left the Shire, I think. Then it was late in coming, said Gandalf. As you see, I was in an evil plight, and those who know me will agree that I have seldom been in such need, and do not bear such misfortune well. Gandalf the Grey caught a fly in a spider's treacherous web, yet even the most subtle spiders may leave a weak thread. At first I feared a Saruman no doubt intended that Radagast had also fallen, yet I had caught no hint of anything wrong in his voice or in his eye at our meeting. If I had, I should never have gone to Isengard, or I should have gone more warily. So Saruman guessed, and he had concealed his mind and deceived his messenger. It would have been useless in any case to try and win over the honest Radagast of treachery. He sought me in good faith, and so persuaded me. That was the undoing of Saruman's plot. The Radagast knew no reason why he should not do as I asked, and he rode away towards Mirkwood, where he had many friends of old. And the eagles of mountains went far and wide, and they saw many things, the gathering of wolves and the mustering of orcs, and the 9 riders going hither and thither in the lands, and they heard news of the escape of Gollum, and they sent a messenger to bring these tidings to me. So it was that when summer waned, there came a night of moon, and Geraint the Windler, swiftest of the great eagles, came unlooked for the Orthanc, and he found me standing on the pinnacle. Then I spoke to him, and he bore me away. Before Saruman was aware, I was far from Isengard, ere the wolves and orcs issued from the gate to pursue me. How far can you bear me? I said to Gorinhar. Many leagues. Then I spoke to him, and he bore me away. Before Saruman was aware, I was far from Isengard, ere the wolves and orcs issued from the gate to pursue me. How far can you bear me? I said to Gwenhwyr. Many leagues, said he, but not to the ends of the earth. I was sent bear tidings, not burdens. Then I must have a steed on land, I said, and a steed passingly swift. But for I have never had such need of haste before. Then I will bear you to Idoras, where the Lord of Rohas sits in his halls. He said, for that is not very far off, and I was glad for in the Ridmark of Rohan the Rohirrim, the horse lords, dwell, and there are no horses like those that are bred in the great vale between the misty mountains and the white. Are the men of Rohan still to be trusted, do you think? I said to Gwenhwyr, for the reason of Saruman had shaken my faith. They pay for a tribute of horses, he answered, and send many yearly to Mordor, or so it to be said, but they are not yet under the yoke. But if Saruman had become evil, as you say, then their doom cannot be long delayed. He set me down on the land of Rohan ere dawn, and now I have lengthened my tale overlong. The rest must be more belief. In Rohan I found evil already at work, the lies of Saruman, and the king of the land would not listen to my warnings. He bade me to take a horse and to be gone, and I chose one much to my liking, but little to his. I took the best horse in his land, and I have never seen the like of him. Then he must be a noble beast indeed, said Aragorn, and it grieves me more than many tidings that might seem worse to learn that Sauron levies such tribute. It was not so when I was last asked when it was not so when last I was in that land. Nor is it now. I will swear, said Boromir. It is a lie that comes from the enemy. I know the men of Rohan, true and valiant, our allies dwelling still in the lands that we gave them long ago. The shadow of Mordor lies on distant lands, answered Aragorn. Saruman has fallen under it. Rohan is beset. Who knows what you may find there, if you ever return? Not this at least, said Boromir, that they will buy their lives with horses. They love their horses next to their kin, and not without reason, for the horses of the Riddermark come from the fields of the north, far from the shadow, and their race, as that of their masters, is descended from the free days of old. True indeed, said Gandalf, and there is one among them that might have been fouled in the morning of the world. The horses of the Nine cannot vie with him, tireless, swift as the flowing wind. Shadowfax they called him. By day his coat glistens like silver, and by night it is like shade, and he passes unseen. Light is his footfall. Never before had any men mounted him, but I took him and I tamed him, and so speedily he bore me, and I reached the Shire when Frodo was on the Barrow Downs, though I set out from Rohan only when he set out from Hobbiton. But fear grew in me as I rode. Ever as I came north I heard tidings of the riders, and though I gained on them day by day, they were ever before me. They had divided their forces, I learned. Some remained on the eastern borders not far from the Greenway, and some invaded the Shire from the south. I came to Hobbiton, and Frodo had gone, but I had words with old Jamji, many words and few to point, had so much to say about the shortcomings of the new owners of the Bag End. I can't abide changes, he said, not at my time of life, and least of all changes for the worst. Changes for the worst, he repeated many times. Worst is a bad word, I said to him, and I hope you do not live to see it. But amidst his talk I gathered at last that Frodo had left Hobbiton less than a week before, and that a black horseman had came to the hill the same evening. Then I rode on in fear. I came to Buckland and found it in an uproar, as busy as a hive of ants that had been stirred with a stick. I came to the house of Crickhollow, and it was broken open and empty, but on the threshold there lay a cloak that had been Frodo's. Then for a while hope left me, and I did not wait to gather news, or I might have been comforted. But I rode on the trail of the riders. It was hard to follow, for it went many ways, and I was at a loss. But it seemed to me that one or two had ridden towards Bree, and And that way I went, for I thought that words might be said to the innkeeper. Butterbur they call him, thought I. If this delay was his fault, I will melt all the butter in him. I will roast the old fool over a slow fire. He expected no less, and when he saw my face, he fell down and flat and began to melt on the spot. Damn. What did you do to him? Cried Frodo in alarm. He was really very kind to us and did all that he could. Gandalf laughed. Don't be afraid, he said. I did not bite, and I barked very little, so overjoyed was I by the news that got out of him. When he stopped quaking, that I embraced the old fellow. How it happened, I could not then guess, but I learned that I learned that you had been in Bree the night before, and had gone off that morning with Strider. Strider! I cried, shouting for joy. Yes, sir, I'm afraid so, sir. So, sir, said Butterbur, mistaking me. He got at them in spite of it all that I could do, and they took it up with him. They behaved very queer all the time they were here. Willful, you might say. Ass, fool. Thrice worthy and beloved Barlaam, said I. It's the best news I have had since midsummer. It's worth a gold piece at the least. May your beer be laid under an enchantment of surpassing excellence for 7 years. Said I, now I can take a night's rest, the first since I have forgotten when. So I stayed there that night, wondering much what had become of the riders, for only of 2 had there yet been any news in Bree, it seemed. But in the night we heard 5 at least came from the west, and they threw down the gates and passed through Bree like a howling wind, and the Bree folk are still shivering and expecting the end of the world. I got up before dawn and went after them. I do not know, but it seems clear to me that this is what happened. Their captain remained in secret away from Bree, while 2 rode ahead through the village, and 4 more evaded the Shire. But when they were foiled in Bree and at Crickhollow, they returned to their captain with tidings, and so left the road unguarded for a while, except for their spies. The captain, who sent some eastward straight across country, and he himself with the rest rode along the road in great wrath. I galloped to Weathertop like a gale, and I reached it before sundown on my second way from Bree, and they were there before me. They drew away from me, and they felt the coming of my anger, and they dared not to face it while the sun was in the sky. But they closed round at night, and I was besieged on the hilltop in the old ring of Amonsul. It was hard to put it, indeed. Such light and flame cannot have been seen on Weathertop since the war beacons of old. At sunrise I escaped and fled towards the north. I could not hope to do more. It was impossible to find you, Frodo, in the wilderness, and it would have been folly to try with the 9 at my heels. So I had to trust to Aragorn, but I hoped to draw some of them off, and yet to reach Rivendell ahead of you and send out help. 4 riders did indeed follow me, but they turned back after a while, and made... What percent is the MacBook at? 2. Shit. Okay. Let me put the MacBook on charge. Okay. Turned back after a while and made for the ford, it seems. That helped a little, for there were only 5, not 9, when your camp was attacked. I reached here at last. I reached here at last by a long, hard road, up the Horwell and through the Edenmoors, and down from the north. It took me nearly 14 days from Weathertop, for I could not ride among the rocks of the Trollfells, and the Shadowfax departed. I sent him back to his master, but a great friendship has grown between us, and if I have need, he will come at my call. But so it was that I came to Rivendell only 3 days before the ring, and the news of its peril had already been brought here, which proved well indeed. And that Frodo is the end of my account. May Elrond on the others forgive the length of it, but such a thing has not happened. Before that Gandalf broke Trius and did not come up when he promised. An account of the ring-bearer of so strange an event was acquired. I think, well, the tale is old now, and from first to last, here we all are, and here's the ring. But we have not yet come any nearer to our purpose. What shall we do with it? There was a silence. At last Elrond spoke again. This is a grievous news concerning Saruman, he said, for we trusted him, and he is deep in all of our counsels. It is perilous to study too deeply the arts of enemy, for good or for ill. But such falls and betrayals, alas, have happened before. Of the tales that we have heard this day, the tale of Frodo was most strange to me. I have known few hobbits, save Bilbo here, and it seems to me that he is perhaps not so long alone and singular as I thought him. As I had thought him. The world has changed much since I was on the westward roads. The Barrow Waits we know by many names, and of the old forest many tales have been told. All that now remains is that an outlier of its northern march. Time was now a squirrel could go from tree to tree from now what is the Shire to Dunland, west of Isengard. And in those lands I journeyed once, and in many things wild and strange I knew, but I had forgotten Bombadil, if indeed this is still the same that walked the woods and hills long ago, and even the older than the old. That was not his name. Arion ben Adar we called him, oldest and fatherless, but many other name he was since been given by the other folk, foreign by the dwarves, Orald by northern men, and have name beside. He was a strange creature, but maybe I should have summoned him to our council. He would not have come, said Gandalf. We could not still send messages to him to obtain his help? Asked Erestor. It seems that he has a power even over the ring. No, I should not put it so, said Gandalf. Say rather that the ring has no power over him. He is his own master. But he cannot alter the ring itself, nor break the power over others, and now he is withdrawn into a little hand, within bounds that he has set. Though none can see them, waiting perhaps for a change of days, and he will not step beyond them. But within those bounds nothing seems to dismay him, said Erestor. Would he not take the ring and keep it there, forever harmless? No, Gandalf said willingly. He might not do so if all the free folk of the world begged him, but he would not understand the need, and if he were given the ring, he would soon forget it, or most likely throw it away. Such things have no hold on his mind. He would be a most unsafe guardian, and that alone is answer enough. But in any case, said Glorfindel, to send the ring to him would only postpone the day of evil. He is far away. We could not now take it back to him unguessed, unmarked by any spy. And even if we could, sooner or late the Lord of the Rings would learn of its hiding place and would bend all of its power towards it. Could that power be defied by Bombadil alone? I think not. I think that in the end, if all of this is conquered, Bombadil will fall. Bombadil will fall, last as he was first, and then night will come. I know little Arion, save the name, said Galdor, the Glorfindel, I think is right. Power to defy our enemy is not in him, unless such power is in the earth itself, and yet we see that Sauron can torture and destroy the very hills. What power still remains lies with us, here in Ilmadris, or with Círdan at the Havens, or in Lorien. But have we here the strength to withstand the enemy, the coming of Sauron at last, when all else is overthrown? I have not the strength, said Elrond, neither have they. Then if the ring cannot be kept from him ever by strength, said Glorfindel, two only can remain for us to attempt, to send it over the sea, or to destroy it. But Gandalf has revealed to us that we cannot destroy it by any craft that we here possess, said Elrond, and they who dwell beyond the sea will not receive it. The good or ill, it belongs to Middle-earth. It is for us who dwell here to deal with it. Then, said Glorfindel, let us cast it into the deeps, and so make the lies of Saruman come true. For it is true that now even in the council his feet were already on a crooked path. He knew that the ring was not lost forever, but wished us to think so, for he began to lust for it himself. Yes, often the lie's truth is hidden in the sea. It would be safe. Not safe forever, said Gandalf. There are many things in the deep waters, and seas and lands may change, and it is not our part here to take thought for a reason, or for a few lives of men or a passing age of the world. We should seek a final end of this menace, even if we do not hope to make one.
Hello, stretch.
And that we shall not find on the roads to the sea, said Galdor. If the return to Arion be thought too dangerous, then flight to the sea is now fraught with gravest peril. My heart tells me that Sauron will expect us to take the western way. When he learns that he has befallen, he soon will. The Nine will be unhorsed indeed, but that is but a respite, ere they find new steeds and swifter. Only the waning might of Gondor stands now between him and the march, and power along the coast and to the north. And if he comes, assailing the white towers and the havens, hereafter the elves may have no escape from the lengthening shadows of Middle-earth. Long yet will be that march be delayed, said Boromir. Gondor wanes, you say, but Gondor stands even in the ends of its of its strength. It's still very strong. And yet its vigilance can no longer keep back the Nine, said Galdor. And other roads he may find that Gondor does not guard. Then, said Aristor, there are but two courses, as Glorfindel already had declared, to hide the ring forever or to unmake it. But both are beyond our power. Who will read this riddle for us? None here can do so, said Elrond gravely. As least none can foretell what will come to pass, if we take the road or that, but it seems to me now clear which way the road we must take. The western road seems easiest, therefore it must be shunned. It will be watched. Too often the elves have fled away. Now at this last we must take a hard road, a road unforeseen. There lies our hope, if hope it be. To walk into peril, to Mordor, we must send the ring to the fire. Silence fell again. Frodo, even in that fair house looking out upon a sunlit valley filled with joys of clear waters, he felt the dead darkness in his heart. Boromir stirred, and Frodo looked at him. He was fingering his great horn and frowning. At length he spoke. I do not understand all this, he said. Saruman is a traitor, and he did not have a glimpse of wisdom. Why do you ever speak of the hiding and destroying? Why should we ever think that the great ring has come into our hands to serve us in a very hour of need? Wielding it in the free lords of the free may surely defeat the enemy. That is what he most fears, I deem. The men of Gondor are valiant, and they will never submit, but they may be beaten down. Valor needs first strength and then a weapon. Let the ring be your weapon. If it is such power as you say, take it and go forth to victory. Alas, no, said Elrond. We cannot use the ruling ring that we now know too well. It belongs to Sauron and was made by him alone, and is altogether evil. Its strength, Boromir, is too great for anyone to wield it, save only those who have already a great power of their own. But for them it holds an even deadlier peril. The very desire for it corrupts the heart. Consider Saruman. If any of the wise should, with this ring, overthrow the Lord of Mordor, using his own arts, he would then set himself on Sauron's throne, and yet another Dark Lord would appear, and that is another reason why the ring should be destroyed. As long as it is in the world, it will be a danger even to the wise, for nothing is evil in the beginning. Even Sauron was not so. I fear to take that ring to hide it. I will not take the ring to wield it. Nor I, said Gandalf. Boromir looked at them doubtfully, but he bowed his head. So be it, he said. Then in Gondor we must trust to such weapons as we have, and at least while the wise ones guard this ring, we will fight on. Mayhap the sword that was broken may still stem the tide, if the hand that wields it inherited not an heirloom only, but the sinews of the kings of men. Who can tell, said Aragorn, but we will put it to the test one day. May the day not be too long delayed, said Boromir, for though I do not ask for aid, We need it. It would comfort us to know that others fought also with the means that they have. Then be comforted, said Elrond. Then be comforted, said Elrond. For there are other powers and realms that you know not, and they are hidden from you. And when the great flows past many shores, ere it comes to Aragornoth, the gates of Gondor. It looks like that's 30 minutes. That's day 65. See y'all day 66. Let's go.